So, name's McDougall, 34 years old, and played for England for 18 years as a backman. So I've got a condition called Stargardt's, so that affects the central vision and detail, etc. So got into partially sighted football at 15, 16, and then got into England team at 16. So both just over 18 years really.
How long have you played for the England team?
So I played since 2004, so just over 18 years, playing 79 games.
And how did you get involved with partially sighted football in the first place?
Yeah, so I played mainstream football growing up, primary and secondary. Played for the school teams. Then when I got diagnosed with my condition, parents started looking into what impaired sports there was. Partially sighted football had a local team that I went to go and train with, and that then led on to playing for them, and then that led on to playing for England after that as well.
What do you enjoy most about partially sighted football?
I think because it's obviously 5-a-side rather than 7 or 11, you can see more of what's going on. So you can pick up the ball, you can pick up players, and you can affect the game more. And then along with that is the people. So obviously you're surrounded with people with either similar conditions or come from similar backgrounds, etc. So that's really positive as well.
What's been your biggest achievement in partially sighted football so far?
Yeah, so the lads, we've managed to reach 2 World Cup finals in the last 5 years. So that's been a massive achievement for the squad and the profile of the squad. We lost both games, so the next one's got to try and win it. But yeah, in terms of raising the profile, that's been massive for us.
What's been the most difficult thing you've had to overcome during your partially sighted football career?
To be perfectly honest, it's not really football. It's probably coming to terms with a condition. So coming to terms with disability. People react differently to diagnosis and depending where you are, etc. So I'm very lucky to have a very good family. But that was probably the biggest bit. And then after that, the football itself, football's football, whatever, discipline that you're playing, you deal with well. But I think that's probably the biggest bit that's overlooked for a lot of people that have got a disability is coming to terms with it.
What's impressed you most about this group of players?
The togetherness. So we're really lucky that we've got a brilliant group of staff and players. And the way we look at it is that if you come into the group, can you leave it in a better place when you leave? None of us will be here forever. There'll come a time where I'm not good enough to play anymore, so I'll have to leave the shirt in a better place and pick it up. But it's a brilliant group of people, very resilient, and it's a group that wants to learn and get better.
What advice would you give to a young person who's VI and wants to get involved with partially sighted football?
Be prepared for knockbacks. So, I'm lucky that, grew up in the same sort of area for a long time, so I know a lot of people in terms of accessing football. So people understand they've got a vision impairment when playing with mainstream teams and stuff like that, but there's been times you get knocked back, you have to become resilient. You have to understand there's going to be no's, and then understand you want to test yourself. So to be better at something, you've got to stretch yourself. And if you only play partially sighted or vision impaired futsal football, that'll be your level. You need to go and try and play with mainstream players and push yourself at all times and be completely honest with yourself. Yeah, it's tough. Listen, it ain't easy. To play for England, full stop isn't easy. To try and play for 18 years isn't easy. But you've got to want it.
What are your ambitions for the future and of the future of England partially sighted football?
Yeah, so me personally, so I want to be a captain for as long as I can be. I want to play as many times for England as I can. Like I said, I'm on 79, so try and clear 100 and then go again from there. I'll play till I physically can't play anymore unless I can stop getting picked. And in terms of the group, I want to captain us to a World Cup final and win it this time, not just finish second. So we want to be the best we can be, but we want to start winning trophies.
Thomas Lamb, 26 years of age, and I'm a pivot for England.
How long have you played partially sighted football for?
So I was first involved in partially sighted football when I was about 12 or 13. So my PE teacher came up to me at school and sort of told me that the local FA, county FA, were looking for disabled footballers, basically. Quite quickly transitioned into the England development pathway, and then I was in the senior training squads at 14, 15, and made a debut European Championships 2012, so I would have been 16 years of age then. So I'm blind in my left eye. I've also got nystagmus in both eyes as well. I played mainstream football my whole life, so to be totally truthful, going through sort of mainstream school, and I didn't necessarily view myself as visually impaired. And I think that sort of young age is quite difficult almost to accept it as well. So when they first had the conversation with me, I was a little bit like, I'm not disabled. But I soon quickly realised how massive an opportunity it was. And when I got exposed to the England pathway, I've never looked back, and it was very much the sort of focal point in my life in terms of how I train, how I eat, how I behave on and off the pitch.
What's been the most difficult thing you've had to overcome during your partially sighted football career?
Football. I think the obvious thing when it comes to football, losing games, getting to tournaments, losing in semi-finals, losing the third, fourth place playoffs, and disappointment of having a group of players that have given it their absolute all and just falling short. So the classic stuff that a lot of footballers would have been through.
What's been your biggest achievement in your partially sighted football career so far?
So getting to 2 World Cup finals, definitely. Particularly the 2019 in Antalya in Turkey. We previously got there in 2017, which was great, but it was the first one we got to. So I think in hindsight, the occasion was a big deal for us, and we weren't maybe as good as we could have been in the game. But then the 2019 final, the past experiences really helped us, and we took the lead in the game. We were really close to getting a result. Unfortunately, we came up against a very good Ukraine team. But I truly believe that if we get another chance to have another go at them, then the outcome will be different.
What do you think the future of partially sighted football looks like?
Incredible. Recently been quite a lot of transition within the FA, and the para football programme seems to have sort of rocketed, and even in short space of time post COVID, you can see the changes and the opportunities that we have, the pre-planning, the tournaments that we have in the pipeline, the training camps that we have in the pipeline, the medical input, the strength and conditioning input we have, the constant sort of checking in we have with the staff. We know we've got something special, particularly within the squad, and as I said, with the previous achievements we've had on the pitch, we're really making those strides towards being world champions.
What do you enjoy most about partially sighted football?
I think being disabled in any form is something that offers you challenges, but the way I often speak to people who maybe are starting to come to terms with their sight is, particularly in this situation where you've got an opportunity to play for England, that wouldn't be on the table if I didn't have a disability. So flipping the negative on its head, if you like, and turning it into a positive is something that I really take a lot of pride in myself, and as I said, dictates my day-to-day quite significantly in terms of my lifestyle.
So what advice would you give to a young person who wants to start playing partially sighted football who hasn't got involved before?
So the Partially Sighted League would be a very good reference point. There's a whole array of standards. You've got England players playing there, you've got players who play in there just recreationally. So no matter where you are within that sort of spectrum of ability, it's a really good starting point. And if you are someone who's keen to take it seriously, and you've got the talent and the ability, the dedication to pursue a dream of playing for your country, then that's the place to be. If it's something that you want to do, where you just want to be around other visually impaired people and learn about how people go about the business, and have that sort of social network and support, then it's for you as well. So depending on your personal aspirations, what you want to get out of it, then there's something there for you.
Brilliant. What's impressed you most about this group of players?
This group of players is special, and I think anyone who's been around this group will vouch for that as well. Personally, I've been around it since I was very young, and it was the first place that I came to where my sight wasn't a problem. Growing up as a child who had sort of obvious visual impairment in terms of the way my eyes looked, it was challenging to be around kids sometimes. And being in this environment, it just took that stress away. I wasn't worried about whether someone thought I was looking at them when I was talking to them, or whether I couldn't read the menu, or something as simple as that. And I think the growing up around this team and sort of very much established players like Steve Daly, the manager now, who's previously the captain, John McDougall, the captain, they've been real role models to me throughout, from being a teenager to 26-year-old man. I still, turn to them for advice in day-to-day stuff now. So the people they're good people fundamentally. They're good footballers, which really helps as well. So the close-knit sort of environment just makes you yourself and really inclusive to everyone who comes in.
My name's Josh Pugh, I'm 32 years old and I play as a backman in futsal. I've probably played for 12, 13 years now. So I've got ocular albinism and nystagmus.
How did you get involved with partially sighted football?
So it was through college. I met John McDougall, another player at college, and he introduced me to it. I had no idea there was an England team. We just kind of played a couple of games and found futsal. I'd never played futsal before. And I always found at school, if I was at a kind of 11-a-side, I'd struggle. But then if we played small-sided football, I was one of the better players. And then when I found futsal, I was like, oh, this is great. And then suddenly you're playing with people who can see like you. And it's like, oh, no, yeah, it's loads easier. It's loads better. Yeah, and I loved it and made so many good mates over the years as well. It's been brilliant.
What do you enjoy most about playing partially sighted football?
Just running around and getting stuck in and blasting a ball and it's like being a big kid. It's great. That's what exercise is, isn't it? It's just fun. It's scoring a goal. It's not being a 5-year-old blasting a load of grown men here, and we're just blasting the ball into an empty goal when we've got nothing to do. It's just brilliant. I love it.
What's been the most difficult thing you've had to overcome during your partially sighted football career?
Probably initially not getting into the squad. I think when I first joined, I missed out the first 2 tournaments, wasn't selected, and that's quite hard to take. But I stuck at it and I got my chance, and it's worth it. I would have never forgiven myself if I'd stopped trying, and it's given me some great memories.
What's been your biggest achievement in your partially sighted football career?
Just longevity, just getting to constantly be involved in improving as a player, watching the squad go from 5th, 6th in the world to 2nd in the world, and hopefully the next step. And watching other lads grow up through their 20s, and it's been my greatest achievement. It's just staying, keeping my place and contributing.
What's impressed you most about this group of players?
How quickly we can learn and how quickly we can welcome new people into the group. I don't think you should ever, take it for granted. Not every group's like that. We're a very welcoming bunch. And if you come with the right attitude, then you'll be welcomed and you'll love it. It's what we do.
What does the future of partially sighted football look like?
Hopefully it looks like more participation at all levels, whether you're going to be an England player or whether it's just a bit of fun. An awareness like it's out there and more people getting involved and just the word spreading and it being a genuine option for partially-sighted people if they want to get involved with sport and play football. It's a national sport, so it should be on the cards for everybody, no matter what their level of sight or ability is.
What advice would you give to a young person who wants to start getting involved in partially sighted football but hasn't yet?
Once you've got the information, it's just make contact, go, don't. So easy to say, don't worry about it, but everybody's been in that position once. It's been everybody's first time once. Just go, and whether you're brilliant or whether it's, you'll never know. If you don't try, you'll never know. And eventually you'll be too old to play football. So while you're young, get stuck in.
So alongside partially sighted football, what else do you do?
So I'm a professional stand-up comedian and writer, which I've done for eight years, been a comedian for 8 years. And I absolutely love it. I'm so lucky that I get to do that as my job, kind of travelling around, trying to make people laugh and writing stuff, and it's just wicked.
What are your ambitions for the future and the future of this team?
So I want to win the World Championship next year in England, and then I want to stay at the top for as long as possible until my knees give in or my wife tells me I can't play anymore.
Brilliant.
Adam Leone, 28, winger/pivot. So I first started partially sighted football about 12, 13 years ago, 28 now, started when I was about 15, 16.
And what's your visual impairment?
So I've got no left eye, I lost my left eye to having, I was born with a type of eye cancer called retinoblastoma, so I lost my left eye due to it being too far down the line, and then my right eye was severely impaired from it as well. So I originally got involved in partially sighted football I was initially invited to a Paralympic open trial day, they call it basically. I was one of very few disabled children in my senior school. So I simply got handed this letter and was told, oh, this is going on. No one knew really much about it. I didn't know much about it, but for me back then it was just a day out of school really. And I went along and they had all sort of different stations of like different sports that are Paralympic sport, but there was a football station. And I'd already played a little bit, I played a lot of grassroots football and whatever else. And then at the end of the session, they kind of come up to me and said, oh, you know, there's like a disability football academy down the road from you that you can go and get involved in. So I kind of gave that a go. And that was Pan Disability, so all disabilities playing together. And after being there for about a year or so, we were quite successful, won the Essex Disability League. And the coach that was running the club was quite well connected. And he said, oh, look, I've put you forward for these development squad trials for the partially sighted team. Just go along, I think you'd be great, just go along. So I did, and yeah, I guess the rest is history really.
How long have you played for England?
So 12 years, so 2009 was my first development squad camp. Spent a couple of years within the development squad and then got my first England call-up in 2012.
What do you enjoy most about partially sighted football?
I think it just offers such a level playing field for all different visual impairments. I think visual impairment is quite a different disability in some aspects to many other disabilities because every person's visual impairment is different. There's not two of the same. Some might have the same condition, but their eyesight is very unlikely to be identical. There's the variety of different eyesights and not knowing, oh, I wonder how much he can see, and oh, like it's just not knowing who's who, but it still offers a level playing field.
What's been your biggest achievement in partially sighted football?
So I think from a team perspective and being a part of the team, it's getting to the 2 World Cup finals. But on an individual level, I mean, my most standout moment was scoring the winning goal in the semi-final of the World Cup against Russia, which ultimately led us to get into our first final.
What's been the most difficult thing you've had to overcome during your partially sighted football career?
I think dealing with my own... I think the most difficult thing I found was sort of becoming true to myself. I think I've come on a long journey of being a very cocky, confident teenager, thinking, oh, I'm this, I'm that, I should be playing every minute, I should be doing that, and coming on a journey to really sort of understanding the full picture and sort of being able to really integrate and hopefully become a leader within the team, and not only on the court, but learning how to do it off the court as well.
What do you do alongside your partially sighted football career?
So I work in television, so I'm a TV producer, currently work for a production company called Whisper. I'm currently in production of making a documentary series for FIFA around World Cups.
What's impressed you most about this group of players?
I think it's the sheer togetherness. It doesn't matter if it's your first camp or your 100th camp, you're just one of the lads, you come in, everyone gets treated the same. As soon as you come in the squad, you're one of us. As long as you embrace it and you put yourself out there, you'll get treated well.
What does the future of partially sighted football look like?
Successful, hopefully. I'm really confident in the team. I think since Steve's come in the last year or so, bringing the younger players in and sort of really pushing the senior players like myself and Josh and John and Tom, it's really given us that extra edge, that extra little drive. Not that you should need it playing for England, but it's that little bit of drive that you didn't know that was capable of bringing. So I'm hoping August 2023 is a gold medal there.
And what advice would you give to a young person who's thinking about starting partially sighted football?
Go for it. Dive head in. It doesn't matter if you're someone that's got potential to be an England player or simply just be part of the recreational league. Just get yourself amongst it, learn what it's like to be around other visually impaired people, And not only will you really develop as a footballer, you'll start to learn a lot about yourself as well.
My name is Macdonald. I'm 22 and play on the wing in futsal.
How long have you played partially sighted football?
Since I was 14.
And what is your visual impairment?
Nystagmus, I was at birth diagnosed.
How long have you played for England?
I've been in and around sort of the development teams and talent pathways for around about 6 years, but internationally about 3.
And how did you get involved with partially sighted football?
It was playing for a pan disability team, Colchester D4S. There was no local teams to myself, so I was having to travel to Colchester, but being in and around other disabled people really helped me progress.
What do you enjoy most about partially sighted football?
Being around players that understand, we all understand each other's capabilities and how to play together.
What's been the most difficult thing you've had to overcome during your partially sighted football career?
Not playing 11-side, can't see the ball.
What's been your biggest achievement in partially sighted football?
I think representing England, it's, definitely my biggest achievement, getting called up. Funnily enough, I was actually travelling Southeast Asia, got called up to come home to start training to prepare for a tournament.
What does the future of partially sighted football look like?
I think it looks good, I think it looks positive. The word's definitely spreading, and I think as a whole, everyone's coming together a bit more around it.
What advice would you give to a young person who might want to start playing partially sighted football?
I think you have to do it, and it'll be less daunting than you actually think it will be. Being in and around disabled people, just like yourself, is really quite eye-opening, and you actually realise that there are people with worse sight than yourself.
What are your ambitions for the future?
To be in and around the squad, sort of currently I'm sort of starting, on the subs bench really, touching on starting, so for me it's being one of the first starting players.
What else do you do alongside partially sighted football?
Obviously work, and I run a business alongside my friend Azim Amir, who plays for the England Blind squad. We run a business around teaching those in companies more about education, sport and speaking really. It's around disabled athletes coming in to do a talk and give everyone a bit of an eye-opener really.
Liam Spinks, 18, winger.
How long have you played partially sighted football?
Since the age of 16. It was a bit of a whirlwind, so I was playing mainstream football all up until the age of 16, and it was actually 3 days after my birthday, my first camp. I got a phone call and said, would you like to come and see how you get on with England? We've got friendlies coming up against Australia, let's see how you get on, and then progress from there.
And what's your visual impairment?
Optic nerve atrophy.
And how does that affect your sight?
So it's an eyesight condition that was developed at birth. So short distance, far distance can be big problems. Colours can be problems. Being colourblind is part of optic nerve atrophy, which is hard sometimes, but being with a group of teammates like this, everyone experiences same or different problems, so a good network to talk to.
What do you enjoy most about partially sighted football?
Oh, I love coming to places like this. St George's Park, the home of England, it's like everyone's role model's been here at some point. Everyone you see on TV, your big sporting athletes, the cameras, everything.
Who's your footballing hero?
It's got to be Cristiano Ronaldo. The guy, what he does away from the pitch or wherever he trains, he's just the physical shape he's in at the age of him. I think everyone is surely inspired by him.
What's been the biggest thing you've had to overcome during your partially sighted football career?
Probably playing at academies when I was younger. Playing there is an environment that can become very isolated. Obviously played for Blackpool for 2 years, which was massive. Like everyone's dreams to be a footballer, and then after Blackpool came to an end, I transferred over to Wigan. I didn't really like the atmosphere at Wigan. I was very isolated. Didn't have many people to talk to. The coaches weren't very interactive, and from that point, it was a choice of attending a disability open have a go event, which was an event where when it come through on my mum's phone, I actually said, I really don't want to go and do this. I don't want to do it. I want to stick to what I'm doing. I'm comfortable where I am. But my mum and dad are partially sighted, so they're massive inspirations for me. And obviously they also did parasport in the past, and they give me that motivation to go and have a go. And from that email that could have been deleted, could have been the difference between representing my country or just putting up with 11 aside, which in terms of my footballing career would have deteriorated, because obviously playing with players who have got more sight than you is a hard task.
What's been your biggest achievement in partially sighted football?
Biggest achievement for me was obviously scoring a goal against Australia on my debut at the home of England. Football was massive. Also getting the opportunity to go and represent my country at a World Cup in which we made the final in 2019 in Antalya, which back-to-back World Cup finals for this squad, and one of the most successful England squads, which is massive.
What's impressed you most about this group of players?
What's impressed me most about these players is their attitude to actually socialising and being mates off the court, but then when we go to the courts and doing training and matches, everybody's got that bit of something to add. We call it 1%ers, and we believe them 1%ers will win us a World Cup final one day. So whether it's someone who's talented in attacking phases, or whether it's someone who's really talented in defensive phases, or whether it's someone who's really talented in keeping possession of the ball, or whatever it may be, this bunch of lads are just a group that I don't think anyone can break them. They're just outstanding.
What does the future of partially sighted football look like?
I believe the future of partially sighted futsal is evolving massively. Obviously, speaking on social media platforms, which we've never had, so that's massive for this squad. Getting the sport out there, that is what, even though we are England players, we aim to inspire younger children from all parts of England, not even England, other countries. Go and get involved in parasport. There's a pathway for everyone. Young person who wants to start playing partially sighted futsal, I'd say to them, there's a pathway for everything. Whether you're good, whether you're not great, whether you're a progressive player, go and get involved in an environment where you can play often and enjoy playing. The main thing for me progressing into an England player is the enjoyment I get from the sport. I find the sport gives me a lot more enjoyment than, say, football now, because I find myself watching clips, or I'll watch games back from when I've been with England, and go and play mainstream. Let people know that you're partially sighted. Be who you are, and go and express yourself on, whether it's an 11-a-side stage, whether it's 5-a-side with your mates, or whether it's futsal like we play. Even getting involved in the partially sighted football league is massive.